What's up, guys? I pray you're having a blessed day so far, and welcome to Living in Truth Ministries. Today we will be discussing worldviews, specifically what they are and why it is important to understand in order to be able to truly live in truth. Just as it is pointed out in David's prayer found in Psalms 86:11, which states, "Teach me your way, Lord, and I will live by your truth. Give me an undivided mind to fear your name." Now, most people, when they hear the word worldviews, would assume that a worldview is something like it's the way one views the world, or something like what one believes in, or one's perspective, or something along those lines. Now, although these definitions are not exactly wrong, because they do touch on the meaning of what worldviews is, it does not explain it completely. In truth, when one examines the word and one sees it, a worldview is just as it sounds, an overarching view of the world. Not necessarily a physical view of the world, but rather a philosophical view. It encompasses the perspective on everything that exists and matters to an individual or a group of individuals. An individual's worldview or a group's worldview represents their most fundamental beliefs and assumptions about the universe they inhabit. It answers life questions. It gets to the core of what we are about and what we believe. Who are we? Some of the fundamental questions that it answers include origin questions, such as where does life come from? Meaning questions such as why do we exist? And what is the purpose of life? Or morality questions such as, is it wrong to murder? Is it wrong to steal? What exactly is evil and good, and who decides what evil and good is? Is there an objective morality? And why is something truly evil? What's the point to actually believe it's evil? All these kind of questions, which even include the concept of whether something can be a sin or not, are found in these morality fundamental questions. Now, other strong fundamental questions that are answered in one's worldview is exactly who am I? For example, am I someone who is bound to my sexuality? Am I someone who is bound to my nation? Am I someone who is bound to the color of my skin, to my race? Am I someone who is bound to my career? Who am I? Where is my identity at? And the other question is very vital to understand is there really a God? Is there a God? And what kind of God they are? Are they multiple gods? Are they one God? Is there no God? Or is this God some sort of energy source of some kind or something along those lines? Your worldview will try to answer the questions giving all those kinds of types of answers. Now, seeing as this is the case, one can really say that one's worldviews shapes and informs their experiences of the world around them. Like glasses with color lenses, they affect what we see and how we see it. Depending on the color of the lens, some things may be seen more easily, or conversely, they may be de-emphasized or distorted. And indeed, sometimes it might not be seen at all. You could completely have an entire blind side because of your worldview. Never being able to even grasp a difference or something in the world because your worldview doesn't let you see it. It is not a far-fetched statement to say that your worldview effectively dictates the way you live your life. One could say it leads you to even what party you vote for, what school you go to, what career path you've chosen, what kind of life you want to live, what kind of things you enjoy in your life. These kind of concepts are heavily affected by one's worldview. The reason for this is that your worldview ends up answering the questions of who you are, and in doing so, answering what your purpose is as well. It is unique to each individual to an extent. Now, worldviews operate to both the individual level and societal level. Although rarely will two people have exactly the same worldview, they may share the same basic type of worldview, meaning that their worldview will have some sort of commonalities, some core commonalities. For example, most Christians that have a Christian worldview would have a worldview that understand there is a God. They would believe in the foundational understanding that there is God and that God is the God of the Bible. Now, of course, that's to a certain extent. Now, there's other worldviews as well that would say that there is no God. And they would be separated from the rest But even within those worldviews, just take Christianity. In Christianity, there's multiple different denominations. So even in the individual, even within the group level, there may be some differences in the worldview. But what's different is that in your worldview, many other main components are the same when you go into a societal worldview. Now, to show you an example of how it affects one's worldview, how a worldview affects what they do, how they identify, how they do things, how they live, I'm going to read you something from a particular book written by a specific individual in history. And I want you guys to think exactly what this man or woman is saying. And it states, everything we admire on this earth today, science and art, technology, invention, is only the creative product of a few peoples, and originally perhaps one race. All great cultures of the past perished only because their originally created race died out from blood poisoning. Those who want to live, let them fight, and those who do not want to fight in this world of eternal struggle do not deserve to live. The Jewish doctrine of Marxism rejects the aristocratic principle of nature and replaces the eternal privilege of power and strength by the mass of the numbers and their dead weight. Thus, it denies the value of personality in man, contests the significance of nationality and race, and thereby withdraws from humanity the premise of its existence and its culture. As a foundation of the universe, this doctrine would bring about the end of any order intellectually conceivable to man, and as in this would bring about the end of any order intellectually conceivable to man, as in this greatest of all recognizable organism, the result of an application of such law could only be chaos. On earth, it could only be destruction for the inhabitants of this planet. Now, these words actually come out as being, to a certain level, very racist, specifically to Jews. It also points out the need for war, a need for bloodshed, a need for chaos and carnage to want to fight each other to finally have this supreme level of race. Now, the individual that came up with this ideology, the individual whose worldview came up with his words, is someone that's very well known in history. And it was written in a book called Mein Kampf. Originally, it was German. Do any of you have any idea who really said this and what he did because of this kind of worldview that he's presenting in these words? Some of you may have already realized it, but the answer is Adolf Hitler. Effectively, this worldview that Adolf Hitler is presenting in these words, this worldview that views as the Jews as a problem to society, this worldview that views the need for war, is exactly why he did what he did. What to some of us may seem ridiculous very well may be the most logical conclusion as it's described by its worldview, because what they identify as good and evil is affected by their worldview, because what they identify as their own identity is affected by their own view, and how the world works is also identified by its own worldview, as well as any other main component that will make society work or not. It may make you completely blind to the truth behind everything. So if you can't answer what your worldview is, then there's a problem. You might actually fall into the same issues that Adolf Hitler did. Because Adolf Hitler, when he answered his worldview, very quickly went off the rails and caused great chaos in the world. As such, those who want to live in truth must always be aware of their worldview. Now, if you're curious more about worldview, we'll be talking more about this later on next week, likely next Wednesday. I'll see you guys there. If you like this kind of content, feel free to press that like button and subscribe to this channel. Have a wonderful and blessed day, guys.